Please do your homework before you launch anything. I really suggest filling out a business plan, seeing where your target market is, doing a SWOT analysis, doing SMART goals. A lot of people think, oh, I really don't need to get into this. It's so important to do your homework because you may not think of something that could be your target market, or you might not see, what are your competitors doing? What is going to be your niche to stand out so you're not blending in with your competitors? Just make sure you're ready to go and don't do anything impulsive and leap into it because it can backfire in a very bad way.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we are always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Natalie Boehm. And Natalie started her journey or went to high school, and it wasn't necessarily the easiest route, but nonetheless made it through high school. And then afterwards went off to study a bachelor's degree in liberal arts with the intent of going to law school. And then ended up getting into an accident and had to put life on hold for a bit, is getting some epilepsy under control associated with the accident. And then also during that time, spent time with her husband and kids for a while. And then decided to go back to school, got an MBA, and then went off to graduate school. After that, started an epilepsy foundation, helping people with epilepsy and as well as other neurological conditions. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Natalie.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely excited to have you on. So I just gave a quick overview to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack that a little bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got kicked off or starting out in high school.
Well, during high school, I've had epilepsy all my life. I was diagnosed at the age of 2 with epilepsy due to a traumatic brain injury. And my high school years were especially challenging. I did well in school for the most part, but I did not have my seizures under control. So I was in and out of the hospital 2-3 times a year. I was going on and off of different medications, which made trying to set goals for short-term and long-term almost impossible. It was like living day to day. And at that time, I really found I forget just what I wanted to do in life. Was I going to live? And I made up my mind that that was my most important goal, was how was I going to survive? How was I going to get my seizures under control so I could start setting realistic goals and do something great with my life?
So now you had the accident, had to then put life on pause a bit, certainly understandable, and having to figure out kind of how to reorient a bit of that as you're dealing with that. So if I remember right, you had the accident, then you were working to get epilepsy under control, and then also I think in that time started to or spent some time with your husband and kids as well, and kind of took I don't know, a break, because that's certainly plenty of work, but maybe a break on the educational side before circling back. Is that about right?
Yes, when I did my undergrad, my last year of working on my bachelor's degree, I had a seizure without warning. Normally I get an oral warning, and I crashed my car. I lost my license for a year and a half. So I put on hold, taking my LSATs and preparing for grad school, and focused on getting my seizures under control and obtaining a job. It was then I met my husband. We became best friends and then got married. And 5 years after we got married, we had our first son, and 2 years later, our next son. And it was in 2018, my seizures were controlled. I was doing well. My, family was doing great. I decided I had to continue my educational journey and reach my goal of establishing a career.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And So now you say you took that, time off, or I get keep calling it time off, but I know it's certainly anything but gives you free time, but and you decided to then circle back. Started to studying the MBA. Now, just or maybe one follow-up to that. You kind of mentioned, or I mentioned, but when we chatted a bit before, that the original intent was to do liberal arts and go off to law school, and then you kind of had the pause. What made you decide to kind of go down the MBA route, or kind of maybe switch gears or directions, or did that all go together? Or kind of walk us through a little bit as to how you decided when you picked things back up on the educational side, what direction you were going to go.
Well, when it came to my goals with the education and everything, I decided to get my master's first with the intent of starting my nonprofit. And I was not sure, as a parent, would I be able to have the time to dedicate to a JD program? So I thought I was going to take this route first, see where things went, and, take it from there. Because even though my health at that time was under control and I was doing well, my children, who are doing great now, they have a bleeding condition, and my youngest son wasn't doing well. And even when I was going for my MBA, I can't tell you how many times I was at Children's Hospital with my son, with my laptop, doing my studies, trying to balance a healthy, relationship with my son, but also trying to fulfill my responsibilities and my goals.
Gotcha. So gives you ability to kind of have the balance, or fulfill all the or various demands on time and responsibilities, and also re-engage on the educational front. So you say, okay, I'm going into with really the intent of starting the foundation. So or walk us through. So when did you go off to MBA school? MBA school is usually a couple years. So kind of when did you hold off on starting the foundation until you went through school, or did you do those in tandem or in parallel, or kind of walk us through a little bit as to the time frame as to or how those played out?
Well, I decided I wanted to launch my foundation because the frustration I found with my community is the larger organizations are very heavily involved in research and development, but they don't understand what it's like to live with epilepsy every day. And epilepsy is a very complex neurological disorder because there's so many things that can cause somebody to have seizures. And a lot of times they don't figure out why the seizures are taking place. So I decided, because I wanted to be successful, I felt the MBA was necessary. So as I was going through my MBA program and learning what I needed to, I was creating my business plan. I was seeing what my target market was going to be, how I was going to carry out things, what did I need to provide to the community. Because ironically, even though I've had epilepsy for 44 years, doctors really don't educate patients about epilepsy. It's take your medicine and comply with your treatment. So even as I started researching different types of epilepsy and seizures and how I could provide this information, I really learned a lot about myself that I didn't even know. And if I could go back in time with this information, I probably would approach so many things in a different way, and probably could have prevented a lot of the stress and anxiety that led to seizures or limitations in my life. So I really want to make sure that the next generation is aware of what's going on. And I wanted to make sure, in order to do that, I set reasonable goals while going to school so that I could achieve it.
No, certainly makes sense. And now, so you went now, what time frame, or how, or when did you start the foundation? Maybe I missed that.
I started doing the research in 2019, starting to do the basic paperwork to get it going. And I officially launched in July of 2020.
Awesome. So you decided what better time than when everything is shutting down and COVID's hitting. Kidding. But so
I know.
you said, oh, timing it's always in the timing, and sometimes it works out well, and sometimes it's you deal with what things come along. But you said, okay, so you start to get it kind of set up and going in 2019, roll it out in 2020. So that's kind of the 4+ years of doing it. So kind of how's it gone? There's sometimes when people get into a foundation, they say, hey, I have a good cause, and then they realize they get into it, and there's a lot more involved with the get or operations and getting the money in and meeting all of the goals and business side of things. And sometimes you love it or hate it, or it goes well, or, it is more difficult. So kind of walk through a little bit, kind of from that inception or kickoff in the 2020, how things gone over the past 4+ years.
Well, I mean, when I launched in 2020, it wasn't long after we had the situation with COVID. I was making connections and networking, and then it came from being able to meet with people to now strictly I was, soon became my best friend. And I really had to work to get through LinkedIn and other situations. Knowing how limited I was at that time, I made the decision I was going to focus on the digital aspect of my company, which is for the education and advocacy information. So I really built up my website. We have 5 YouTube channels. I really did everything I could to get the information out to people, which really has been so beneficial to me. But I also started small goals. I didn't want to be that place where, okay, you just got information and there was no person who understood what you were going through. So the first project I launched is every year we award 2 scholarships to 2 college students in the amount of $500 each. My long-term goal is going to be a $2,500 scholarship. I'm hoping the next 7 years max to be able to do that. But since I've launched my organization, I've awarded 9 college scholarships to students, and it's just been such a euphoric experience for me, because I can't tell you how many of these students are just blowing other students I know away, how dedicated they are, how determined they are to succeed despite having a neurological disorder. And we recently awarded our first dog grant. We have a $1,000 grant program to a young gentleman who is 7 years old. He has what are called complex partial seizures. And before he has a seizure, he gets sick, and they were worried about him, not surviving because of it. And so now he's going to have the support he needs with this seizure alert dog to prevent him from being in danger or anything, serious or fatal happening. So I really wanted to make sure, even though these were small awards, I wanted it to add up and really do what I could to be with my community. Now that COVID has lit up, I am now partnering with people in the state of California and other small businesses. And my goal out here, and I hope to grow it, in the future, I'm putting together an event. It's an HR event for small businesses to show them the benefits of hiring people with disabilities and differences, because so many business owners still see people who have disabilities as a liability, and it's far from that. So my goal is to educate these people, the resources in the government, local, state, federal, they can use, organizations like SCORE where they could get free business mentoring. And then my second step is we have here in the state of California, the state is a business roundtable for people with developmental disabilities. And these businesses come together, and this part of the state shows them how to find grants to build their business, the training. You can get trained to become a certified autism center, or certification to working with people with neurodivergent conditions, which opens up a lot. A lot of businesses do not know how much money is hidden in these state governments that are supposed to be for programs like this. But you only find out about them when someone who knows somebody brings it back to you. Sadly, it's hidden, and it shouldn't be. And my goal is then, once I get these businesses through the training, to get them to start hiring people. And I want to keep track of the data of how many people are being hired, how many businesses are moving forward with this, because I want to be able to bring this to the state government. I want to create a program with it. I'm in the process of doing that with our regional center. And I want to be able to say to the state, you need to start helping small businesses more with this. It benefits the person with the disability, because now they're getting more social skills. They're getting a sense of independence, and they can handle their own money. Some will be on the Ticket to Work program to keep benefits, while others who don't qualify for that can now work towards a career and take care of themselves, rather than being underemployed, unemployed, relying on family in a group home, or sadly, some people can end up homeless when they fall through the cracks. So by employing these people, rather than being supported by the taxpayers, now they can be contributing taxpayers, and we could put more money into our economy, more money into communities. It creates a win-win situation when we take the fear and the stigma out of the situation.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like it's certainly or filled a need out there, and given people a lot of opportunities that they might not otherwise had. Now, one question, maybe just kind of following up or shifting gears a little bit on the business side of things, as you're getting the foundation going. My limited knowledge is there's a few ways to do them, and sometimes you do any or all the above. The one you can be is government, whether it's state or federal grants or local grants that support, the business. It can be fundraising. It can be doing, either getting donors. It can be a number of activities. So as you're starting and as you've continued to build the foundation over the past 4 years, kind of what was the avenue, or how did you go about keeping the lights on, so to speak, or otherwise keeping the foundation going as you're looking to help others?
Well, the first step I took was looking for micro grants, and I was very lucky that I did have people who supported my system, and even if they couldn't give a lot, did what they could to either give something, or they helped me find tools and resources I needed, where in many situations, if you're a nonprofit, they'll give you a good discount, or it can be even for free. So I say to people who are interested in opening nonprofits, please do your homework. There's many resources that can help you put together a more realistic budget so you're not in the red. I also, in creating my YouTube channels, I monetize my English channel. We provide the same information in English, French, Spanish, traditional Chinese, and Arabic, so we can get this information at a global level. Monetizing my channel, I bring in about anywhere from about $60 to $70 a month, and my goal is in the next year to get over 100 a month, so that I can use some of that for our scholarships and some for the operational cost. But my goal is to eventually get all five monetized, so that my long-term goal, my basic operational expenses are going to be just covered by that. So any grants I bring in, any donors, any sponsors, I want it to go all back into the community, or have the ability. I want to also become an autism certified company, so I can hire people with disabilities and differences to help us grow the organization. But it really was baby steps myself, finding little tools, and even at times donating myself, because this means the world to me. Really, what my long-term goal is in creating this organization is I want the next generation of people who have epilepsy to look back in my life and go, I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with what she dealt with, but we still can do better, and we're going to. If I can at least get that momentum, I feel I've done my job.
Oh, it's awesome. Sounds like it's been both a great labor of love, as well as an evolution in figuring out the best path to both support the foundation, as well as to more or impactfully support others, and to help the community. So definitely fun to hear the evolution there. So. Well, now as we've kind of reached the present day of the journey, always a great time to transition to the two questions I always like to ask at the end of each episode. So we're going to jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What did you learn from it?
I would say at times I allowed my passion and my life experience to creep up on me in a negative way at times, when I had some business people who didn't take me seriously because of having excuse me, a disability. I took it personally, and I should have taken those times to take what was a negative situation, step back and say, you know what, I'm going to make something positive of this. How can I strategically plan to show people in time that, writing me off and treating me like a child, like I'm a good little girl who's trying to save the world. I wish I could have had more of an intellectual reaction to it. So even though I'm passionate about my work, I would say to people, try to find a healthy balance between your emotions of what you're working for and also just, strategy will be reaching your goals. You're not going to save the world in one day. You're not going to reach it all in one day. You're going to have setbacks. So allow yourself to have those setbacks in a realistic way so that you can, move forward.
No, definitely, that makes sense, and it sounds like an easy mistake to make, but also a great one to learn from. So definitely appreciate sharing on that one. So, second question now that I like to ask is, so now if I'm talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one rule of thumb that you recommend?
Please do your homework before you launch anything. I really suggest filling out a business plan, seeing where your target market is, doing a SWOT analysis, doing SMART goals. A lot of people think, oh, I really don't need to get into this. It's so important to do your homework because you may not think of something that could be your target market, or you might not see what are your competitors doing? What is going to be your niche to stand out so you're not blending in with your competitors? Just make sure you're ready to go and don't do anything impulsive and leap into it because it can backfire in a very bad way.
No, and I definitely agree. And sometimes you get excited with, all the possibilities or, or the personal passion or interest in it. And all those are great things and can motivate you towards success. But doing the homework and making sure that the opportunity lines up with what you're wanting to do and you're able to accomplish things and there's a path forward. And then kind of doing that homework on the front end can certainly save a lot of, I'll say heartache or avoid a lot of issues as you get going. So definitely a great rule of thumb. Well, now as we are wrapping up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
You can email me at defeatingepilepsy@gmail.com. And I encourage you to go to our website at www.defeatingepilepsy.org so you can see the resources and everything that we are offering for the epilepsy community.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, expand their network, support a great foundation, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So, with that, thank you again, Natalie, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you their listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveunicorn.com, apply to be on the show. Couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey of success. And along that note, if you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we are always here to help. Well, thank you again, Natalie, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much. It was great to be on today.